Hello, extra time.
They're important to the league not to get a high because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
Simple enough. They're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit to the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Kenny then to manage the Irish team.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the extratime.com podcast. Your host Luke Jordan. Delighted to say Macdara Ferris here again. Macdara, how are you?
I'm good, Luke.
We'll probably chat maybe more about later on, but is the league over? Shamrock Rovers?
Well, yeah, I was surprised that there's only 13 games left because it's like a mid-season break, but actually it's essentially the international break, and with games front-loaded for the European sides, 7 points clear with 13 games to go is a pretty good situation. Yeah.
Are you gonna do it, Johnny Ward, and just call it now? Call it early?
No, it's never over. Like it's never over. Like you can. Like people will have seen probably Monday's match and Derry City were excellent, just didn't have that ruthlessness up top. And it was actually I was talking to Pico Lopez during the week, and he was saying that's a game we just needed to grind out was what he was saying to me, and that's what they did. But it's not. No, I'm not calling it yet.
I suppose, did you see Damien Duff? Actually, we have Shelbourne player waiting in the wings, so I might come to her in a sec, but did you see Damien Duff's little up yours to the Pats fans after the loss?
Yeah, he doesn't understand the body language of that sign. Yeah, I thought I was highly amused by it, but anyway.
On that note then, Rebecca Creagh, how are you?
I'm good. Not too bad, lads. How's things?
Has Noel King ever done it to Peanut fans, giving it the up yours?
Not in front of the cameras, I don't think. Behind the scenes, possibly.
Yeah, we might have it later on. I suppose, look, we have one place for you to start, and that is the Irish squad finally announced for the World Cup this summer. I was there. We'll come to a bit of audio later on. I suppose, Macdara, go to you first. Initial reaction to the squad when it came through?
I wasn't overly surprised because the main players were there, and we'd got signposts that the likes of Sinead Farrelly was going to be included. The fact that the three players playing in the WSL were coming in at this stage, we probably knew that they were doing. Like I think I said last week, I didn't expect Saoirse Noonan to be in the squad. I think Amber Barrett's goals last week, and probably even before that, kind of warranted her position. The talking points were about Leanne Kiernan, and I listened to the audio of today, and Vera Pauw spoke about the metrics. So they looked at her explosive runs were kind of tailing off towards the end of the first half. She'd only played what was it, 68 minutes of football. Like she is fit, but just not probably fit enough, I think. And we probably knew some of the other injuries were going to rule out the players. And then the big talking point was Jamie Finn. I suppose that is a surprise. But the thing was, like, Vera Pauw named a 31 player squad for the training camp, plus the three players that were coming in from America. So it's 34 players, and then had to cut that down to 23. So there was always going to be players that were going to miss out. But I think probably, Leanne Kiernan was touch and go, and I probably felt she didn't do enough in the game against Zambia, and Ireland were better in that second half. So and that's why the main talking point, just looking at what people were saying this afternoon, has been the Jamie Finn one, and she put out a quite a good statement herself. Obviously really, really disappointed, but has put that disappointed to one side and has accepted to be one of the three training players, which is probably really difficult. They've named a fourth goalkeeper as part of the training group as well. But I suppose there is the opportunity that she could come into the squad if somebody did get injured, but if not, she'll go out and while she won't be part of the matchday squad, she'll give it her all. But that they were probably the things that stood out for me.
Same question, Rebecca. Your initial thoughts on the squad when it came out?
Yeah, very much the same. I suppose, Macdara, like it's a case that I knew that kind of core group that was selected were gonna be selected, if that makes sense. We obviously had Niamh Fahey coming back from injury. I think was a case that, look, she's a little bit further on than the other girls who are injured currently or were injured. And obviously she's got that wealth of experience. She's a senior international, I don't know how long now, a long, long time. Obviously, with the mention of Jamie Finn, I think it's taken over every news outlet and every social media outlet I've seen over the course of the day. And for me personally, knowing Jamie and having played with her for a long time, I'm absolutely good for her. I know what that jersey means to her. She's captained underage side. She's worked really hard at senior level to get into squads. And I was kind of looking at the USA games there a few months ago and the last game there against Zambia, and she wasn't playing. And I was kind of thinking to myself, and I had these conversations at the game last week. I was like, geez, Jamie hasn't got a look in. And I think we were all kind of saying, she's only looking at the players she hasn't really seen too much of, or she needs to make a final decision on, but now looking at it, you're kind of thinking, right, she kind of, I think, knew, in her own mind what decision she was making, Vera, and the backroom staff. And yeah, look, again with Leanne, like it's a case that, look, I don't think she looked sharp enough match wise, in the game against Zambia, but knowing her as well as a player, she's just got that threat in front of the goal, that we've missed and lacked. Obviously, Amber has done well, and I don't think she scored for the last 6 months up until the 2 goals there last week. But Leanne, when she's on her game, she will get you those goals. And I know we had Heather Payne up top for a long period of time, in games gone by, and she was just doing doggies. She was running and running and running, and we just hadn't got that end product. And obviously she's moved right wide, which suits her a lot better, and she's got that level of fitness to do it. But for me, I know Leanne at this point, we're going about metrics and all this new school kind of, stats and whatever you call it, but you still have got a bit of time to go as well. I was kind of thinking, trying to weigh up how many sessions would Leanne get in, before that opening game, or, even the second or third game of the World Cup, where we could maybe need a result and get a goal or two. But look, it's one of those things, as Macdara said, it's inevitable that somebody's going to be hard done by. They're not going to get selected. The likes of Harriet Scott, even she's 30 now, and she's been in and around the squads for a long time. I'm sure she's good at it as well. But it is great, obviously, having them going across for the trip as well.
Yeah, it is tough. And look, before maybe we talk about further, I was saying, Ron, I was at the UCD ball when Vera was basically discussing these decisions, so we have a list on them and come back in.
It's been devastating days, because it's not so much celebrating the squad, it's more the pain that we all feel of leaving players home. We have done everything in our capacity to go through every single detail to come to the decisions that we had to make. I've told you already before that every week we went through all the players, all the games, every moment of every player. We've seen that they have played, and that came to that we gave a few players extra chances. I said every player get the chance till the last second, and that's exactly what we did. On Monday night we finished at 1 a.m. We said, guys, we need to sleep now because the tiredness came in too much. 8 a.m. we're here again, get a few hours of sleep. From that moment we went into the training. After the training we've seen the video again to give every single player, especially the hardest decisions, to view that again. We are convinced that we've made the right decisions, although they've been very, very hard to make. Well, of course we have been growing to the 23+3. But the final decision has been made after the training, after we've seen the video, and that we said we have to take this decision. There's no other way. And that's technically, and that's elite sport, but it doesn't mean that it's I've broken dreams. And let's go for Jamie, because Jamie, that has been the hardest. That's been the hardest decision. And of course we know that she's been part of that squad all the time. But you've also noticed that we've changed playing system. We have Kira Carusa now as a target player that brought Heather Payne to the right side with pace over the wing. And there's also players who jumped up levels, who've showed against Zambia. You've seen them yourself. So those options bring that you have to take tough decisions. And Jamie, especially because she played and the credits that she has, we've gone through every single video moment of her. Also the last 2 weeks. So it's not just a moment, but you've seen also that Jamie was not involved in the last few games. And that's technical, it's not because of her. That is team sport, that is elite sport, that's football. As much as we wanted her to be part of it. So I'm so happy that she's still part of our squad, that she's traveling with us, that she will be, together with Harriet Scott, full member of the squad at every moment. I've had contact yesterday 3 times with FIFA to make sure that everything is arranged for them and the way how to handle it, and that they are aware that we bring those players, that they are full part of the squad. So we really take care of that, because it's so important that Jamie and Harriet are involved.
What about Leanne?
Leanne, it's unfortunately the football fitness that is part of that. We all know that she played only 30 minutes in a year, then 45 minutes now. In September, it's a year ago. And we have given her the chance to fully train, to be with us, and she did well. She did really, really well. But the data show that the time between explosive actions are already getting longer during the first half. And that means that if other players are performing at a higher level, that technically you have to take that decision, because it's World Cup level. It's even twice as high level than what we met against Zambia. So we had to take the decision on that. It has nothing to do with if she didn't give her all, or that we did not give her all the chances, because we did. We brought her in, she grew and she grew. It's just that it's just a little bit too early, unfortunately.
Rebecca, is it a credit to Jamie Finn and Harriet that they're going over as training players? Like, it really shows the character that they're not. I suppose I wouldn't expect them to sulk, but maybe some players would. It's, you know, hard to judge how a person would take that news of not going to the World Cup as a part of the 23. So again, is that a credit to their character that they are going over the squad?
Most definitely, yeah. Like I don't know Harriet as well as I know Jamie, but you know, from what I do know of Harriet, she's very much a team player, gets around the group, and I suppose will do everything that she can to help, in the team effort. And the same with Jamie. Look, she's a quiet girl, gets her head down. She's versatile, as we've seen over the years. She'll play in any position you put her in. And look, as much as it's not the selection or positions that they might have wanted, on the trip or on the plane to Australia, they're doing it, for the team, for the country, for themselves and their families. And I think it would be, I know if it was me, I'd be, obviously devastated. And I think it'd be very, very hard to kind of put yourself in that mindset of, right, I'm just going over here to just be a training player. I'm not going to be walking out in front of that 82,000. Yeah, I might be sitting in the stand watching it, but it's different. It's kind of a mixed emotions, a bittersweet kind of thing, but it is definitely a credit to themselves, and yeah, it's going to be tough for them, but they'll be okay, I'm sure. Professionals.
Macdara, you want to come in here?
Yeah, just I mentioned what Jamie Finn had put out, kind of a statement on social media, but she talked about elite sport is difficult and sometimes people face unforeseen setbacks. I will continue, as I always have, to work hard representing my country to make my dreams a reality and inspire the next generation of girls to do the same. I'm grateful to be named as a training player and will continue to play my part, as preparations. It's probably worth saying that, so Vera Pauw named the squad today. There'll be a 26-player squad for the France game, and they'll play a strong side for that. That's the preparation, she said today, for the Australia game. So I expect to see Sinead Farrelly playing that one. But the squad doesn't actually have to go to FIFA until the 10th of July, but the team are flying out. So they play France on 6th of July. They're then flying out on the 7th. So Ireland needed to name the squad. Trying to fly someone out at a later date. But so the squad needs to go to FIFA on the 10th of July. So that's when they're out there a couple of days. But if any player gets injured before the 19th of July, which is before the tournament starts, and they're deemed unable to play based on a FIFA approved doctor. So FIFA need to have a look and say, yeah. So if somebody does get injured and like, you really hope they don't, and I know Jamie Finn and the others won't want a player to get injured, but that's the reason why they're going out there, that if somebody does get injured, they don't have to fly someone, I'm going to say halfway around the world, but it's all the way. It's almost, well, okay, it is halfway around the world, but all the way down the bottom of the world. That they can slot in, but only until the 19th of July, and it was something that the FAI and a few other countries had just sought assurances on what they could do, and the FAI are they have to foot the bill for these 3 extra players, but I think it's the right thing to do. That if somebody does get injured, that there's an opportunity for someone just to slot in who's been with the camp. But yeah, it's a fair play to all 3 of them.
I know we can talk about, obviously it's huge disappointing for the players not to make it. Like, and Vera was very keen to point that out, that the group shared the pain with them. Well, I suppose I'll go to Rebecca first. That you kind of forget about the manager here as well. Because I was there today, and I could visibly see she looked exhausted. She looked very emotional when she's discussing her decision process. I'm an NCAA football coach, and I have dropped a player for an NCAA match, and they've thrown the head in a Sunday league game. I can't imagine telling the footballer that they're not going to the dream of going to a World Cup. So. Like, it must be very tough on the manager the last 3 or 4 days, and it must be very wearing on them.
Completely, yeah. Like, look, it's not a job that I don't think I think I'd like, and I've said it on my slot on 2FM with Game On over the last few weeks and months. I'm like, I would hate to be in that position to try and whittle that amount down. Obviously you have the 31, but the 34 then, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. And I'd say today and yesterday, or however long the girls know, it's just been, emotion and, absolute like devastation, and I don't think maybe the girls that have been selected have possibly got the chance to be elated and, happy and all these. Obviously we see the posts on Instagram coming out, but you can imagine that kind of, hanging over the group, the fact that people need to find this out. And obviously with Vera, she is the one that finally, is finalising that decision, and it kind of all lands on her shoulders. Obviously she has got a team behind her, and people looking at all these stats and metrics, and obviously assistant coach there with Tom Elms. And look, it's a major position. Obviously it comes with it, she knows obviously the role that she's taken on, and obviously an ultimate professional. And yeah, look, it can't be easy at any level. And look, I'm sure it's a case of, just getting this day over with now and getting back into camp and getting the heads down now for the France game and eventually the World Cup itself.
Macdara, what do you make of her comments on the 4th goalkeeper? That just so people are aware, she said that during the media scrum that if the 3 training players weren't permitted, she would have brought a 4th goalkeeper. Now, I'm surprised over that. I personally don't think there's a need for 4 goalkeepers in the squad. I understand you might dip in what she was saying and setting you up.
Yeah,
games, but still a surprise. Yeah,
she talked about having the importance of 7v7 games in training and in their preparation. So she wanted to have she wanted to have 4 goalkeepers from that point of view. So but I don't quite understand it, but I think I'm thankful that there's only 3 goalkeepers in the actual squad. But I think overall she handled it very well. Like I'm old enough to remember Jack Charlton and the 1990 squad and Gary Waddock, and Charlton made an absolute bags of that. Going to the stadium last week against Zambia, she had actually texted. Vera Pauw texted all the players who were part of her 50. Like, she was kind of working off to a 50-player squad, and she was giving everyone an opportunity to get in there. But gradually, it kind of worked its way down. You think back to players like maybe Sarah Rowe, Savannah McCarthy, who were maybe looking to get into the squad, and these were players gradually got whittled down. And she spoke today that there was no celebration. I think she mentioned maybe Louise Quinn said something similar, because what she did today was actually she talked to all the players who weren't in the squad. So they were the ones that she sat down and talked to. So there wasn't an opportunity to actually talk to the players who had made the squad, who were, obviously absolutely delighted to make the World Cup squad. That'll come. over the next few days. But I think she handled it as well as you can, and she made the point that it wasn't about her. Like, she acknowledged it was. What did you say? It was the worst day of her career, I think was the quote.
Yeah.
But she quickly went on to say, it wasn't about her, and it was about the players who didn't make it. And like it's a really difficult job. And she's managed at the World Cup before, but interestingly, she was saying that this was the worst. So having done it a couple of times before, and going to managing at major tournaments, I think it's to do with the journey of this squad, where they had come close, but actually to get over the line, and it was really difficult journey through the qualifying. Really difficult journey, what she's gone through personally in her life, and what she's gone through in the last year, where she's talked about in her past, the sexual assault, are really difficult, and talked about the support that the players have given her within the squad, and the support that the Irish public has given. And I think that all probably told today, and I think thankfully they'll be able to draw a line under the sand from today. They're back training in UCD the next couple of days, and then they're back out to Abbottstown ahead of the France game. There'll be a real focus on that game, because it's the preparation for France are coming with going to the World Cup with ambitions of winning it. They're at that level, so it'll be a real benchmark, having got a really useful run out against Zambia for the Nigeria game. So I think they can. They have to move on quite quickly, and I think she will.
Just when you're talking about players, obviously in that 50, like Rebecca, it goes to show as well, before we move on, that the depth we have the last 5-6 years. Like you mentioned, Savannah McCarthy was brilliant against Finland 2 years ago. People forget about that. And the injury of the centre back, Sinead Farrelly, playing Serie A, not even getting the 31. Emily Whedon scoring goal with Glasgow City. Like it goes to show the development of the game in Ireland the last 10 years. It's incredible the amount of players now we actually are starting to produce and playing at a good level of football.
Yeah. Well, so she actually must have lost my number, though. She didn't text me for that 50. So I don't. Only messing, Jesus, long past that. But yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Like the amount of players that we have. It's a large pool. Obviously overseas now. You mentioned the few girls that are across the water in a few aspects, and obviously here in the women's, the League of Ireland women's Premier Division, we've got unbelievable players coming through, and obviously I'm involved with Shells myself, but we've Alex Kavanagh there who's phenomenal with Shells in the last few years. Hasn't really been in and around squads. I know she's doing home based stuff the last few months there. Obviously Jessie Stapleton, who was unlucky to be selected for the training camp at least. And then a wealth of girls across the league. It's fantastic to see, and it's something that it kind of gives you that hope for teams to come. And I know it's our first major tournament, but you'd like to be thinking that this is going to be something that is just the norm in years to come. Euros and World Cups. That will give the likes of Jamie Finn maybe a something to look forward to in a few years' time. She's still quite young, but yeah, it's fantastic to see, and it's like the likes of Savannah, as you say, and you have a few girls there, Shamrock Rovers, coming through the ranks as you do at Peamount, Galway, Shelbourne. It's great to see.
Yeah, and I suppose that's actually one of the questions someone else asked, was in terms of she's had these home-based squads previously. The squad was whittled down to 2. She was kind of asked the question in terms of why there's only 2 in the squad. You could look at either way. The journalist was kind of hinting at the fact that is the league not good enough, whatever the case may be. But I'm kind of on the opposite side going. I think it's actually a credit to the league, like 2 players in a squad where, let's be honest, like the game's not professional here. Shamrock Rovers, the first season, it's semi-professional, and we've an 18-year-old and a stalwart of Irish football in the squad. And look, I think it's a credit to the league, and it's a credit to have 2 players actually playing the World Cup, and possibly, I don't know, I'm wrong, I don't think we've ever had a player playing a World Cup from a domestic league here. So it'd be a great achievement if one got the pitch in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, most definitely. Sorry,
go on, Rebecca. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, and the majority of the girls that are going to the World Cup started off in the league here, and have come from, Katie McCabe at Raheny United, Denise O'Sullivan at Cork. They started. That was their kind of, the foundations for them was the league here. that obviously gave them opportunities then, you know, further afield, and obviously getting into underage squads with Ireland. But yeah, look, it's a great thing to say. Obviously, you can be positive and say it's great to have the two girls in there. Do I think we have potential to have maybe two more in there? Yeah, but look, that's something for another day, and obviously further conversations and obviously competitions hopefully to come.
And Vera was quick to say that while there's 2 League of Ireland players in the squad, that it was reckoned it was 9 former League of Ireland players, and quite a few of them were playing in the league up until quite recently. You mentioned Katie there, Rebecca. You played with her right at the start of her career, and now she's going to have the captain's armband at the Cup, and I think she's a brilliant captain. I think she really represents the very best that we have. Her enthusiasm, the level of the level that she plays, the aggression kind of said as well. God, I'd hate to play her. But can you maybe talk about, you know, she would have been very young. She must have been very young when you guys were playing together at Raheny.
Yeah, most definitely. Katie, I know Katie since she's about 14, 15. Brought on her first night in town. Underage, may I add, but we won't say anything. I know Katie a long time. She's from Kilnamanagh. I'm from Walkinstown. I used to bring her to train all the time. She's a really, really good friend of mine now. But it's just been amazing to watch her, you know, evolve. And, you know, I remember her back then, like I was captain of Raheny at the time, and her coming in and not a bother to her, you know, like our first girls team was at Temple United, as was mine, but there's about 7 years in between in an age gap. But like watching her coming from like just that raw, you know, she was still quite rugged and threw herself around, not a bother to her at that young age, you know, and had the kind of, I suppose, cheeky tab put on her very early, but she was fearless, you know, and, you know, having her out on that left wing, she used to, I think I shouted at her more times than not for shooting when she put across. But look, it just showed her confidence at that young age. And I know it wasn't easy going across to Arsenal initially, you know. I only met up with her there a few days ago for a coffee, you know, and to see how far she's come, and she had that struggle, you know, at Arsenal, went off to Glasgow then on loan, and grew through that season, you know, got a couple goals there. It's a change of management at Arsenal that just worked in her favour, you know, got on really well with Joe Montemurro at Arsenal. And to see her, you know, when she got the captaincy so young, I think we were all kind of like a bit shell-shocked, you know. We're like, Jesus, it's a huge statement, you know, to make. And Colin Bell bringing her in, I think we were all looking, going, maybe Diane Colwell will get in, or Louise Quinn, or Anya, you know, Nifa, all these kind of people that just seemed naturally to come after Emma Byrne. But to see someone put that much confidence in such a young player, and a player that has that bit of edge about them, you know, that little bit of grit, and you know, I don't know if she, you know, a lot of people do say we kind of embellish or, you know, put that into her at Raheny. I don't know how true that is. Noelle Murray might be the one to take ownership of that one, but just to see her, like she does not care, you know. She's still the same girl I know from 14, you know, from Kilnamanagh. She's never forgot where she's came from either, you know, and she's none of these airs or graces on the pitch, which is fantastic to see. And it's just that kind of, you know, that fighting Irish, as they say in inverted commas. And yeah, look, I'm very, very proud of her, and I'm buzzing to see how she gets on now in a few weeks' time.
Where do you think she's going to play? She's obviously played a lot at kind of left wing back at different stages under Vera Pauw, and then, you know, more recently moved forward. You know, Heather Payne has slotted in at the back, and there's a bit of talk that you know, probably against Australia, that, you know, do you give up her all the assets that she brings from attacking point of view to maybe play her at defence, because Australia are really, really potent going forward?
They are extremely, you know. They've Caitlin Ford there in the wing, you know, or up top she can play obviously as well. And, you know, if Ellie Carpenter, I'm pretty sure she's back and fit. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. For me, I think she could possibly start her in that kind of left wing back position for the obviously the start the Australia game. All going well, I'd love to see her go higher up the pitch. I think that's her best position, is just that, you know, left or right side of the up top. It's a very, obviously she does like that, you know, 3 at the back with the 2 wing backs, more of a 5 at the back, Vera. So to me, I think that's where she'll play to start off. I'd love to see her getting higher up. She's such a threat, you know. She's 7-8 goals across the campaign, along with Denise O'Sullivan in there behind as well, but definitely can see her maybe starting in that wing back position. Although it was actually funny to see. I know obviously Megan Campbell's not involved, but Izzy Atkinson coming in for Megan, who wasn't involved at all from the start, and obviously just that injury with Megan came in. She done okay in that first half of the Zambia game. You know, she's a bit of a threat on the ball. You know, it's quite hard, I suppose, coming in. You're thrown into the deep end. Get out there and show me what you're made of. And look, ultimately, she's made the squad, which is amazing. But yeah, I think Katie be a wing back for the first game at least.
Before I suppose we go through the rest of the squad and maybe we have a slight guess what the team might be against Australia, let's just have a quick listen to Vera talk about the League of Ireland players in the squad.
And in terms of the League of Ireland, like, I suppose the other flip side, the other question is in terms of having two players now in the squad is a real positive, because probably the first time ever, if they play in the tournament, that there'll be a League of Ireland player playing at the World Cup. It's only a positive.
And all the players that came from the League of Ireland and went to, we should not forget to count them, because 2 years ago they were all playing here. You said 9 players. I did not count them, so thank you. 9 players straightly coming from the WNL League. The WNL League is so important, and we're going to help, of course, to get them closer to WSL level, but that is really hard because we all know the difference in financial resources that WSL clubs get from the club, from sponsoring, and maybe that we should not aim for that. Maybe we should aim for focusing on quality, which we do already for years. If you see the difference where the league is now than when I started 4 years ago, I have nothing to do with that. That is all my colleagues working on that and the clubs themselves. But if you see the difference in that's amazing. So we can only grow from that and get more players like Abby and Tara jumping up. And the only reason why Tara is not making it, and that's not a secret. We've all seen that. I've said it before. It's because Izzy is jumping up 5 levels at the moment.
Okay, so we'll probably start the goalkeepers. It's probably the easy one to run through really quick. I'll do this one, I suppose. Courtney Brosnan, Grace Maloney, Megan Walsh. No real surprise there, guys. They were the 3 nailed on.
Oh yeah. Courtney all the way, and great day for her. The contract extension from Everton today. So pretty good one for her.
Yeah, I think that's the pretty easiest one to go through. This is where it might get a bit more, players might drop in and out. Again, the defenders in harder pain: Anya Gorman, Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn, Diane Caldwell, Claire O'Riordan, Megan Connolly, Chloe Masaki, and Isabel Axon, as mentioned by Rebecca earlier on. It was interesting just to throw a span in the works that Aoife Manning was more than likely going to be in the squad. They brought her in, they tested her knee out. It was too big a risk, they said. Megan Campbell, as you mentioned, had an injury too. So it's going to be interesting to see what the combination is. My only concern, Rebecca, I'll let you answer this one, with the Irish back 3. If I find it's very slow, if we're counter-attacked. If we're caught high at the park, we have a very old. That's not a nice thing. But we've
experience.
That's the word. That's the word.
We've experienced defense.
Yeah, as we were saying, we've got quite an experienced backline, the likes of Niamh Fahey and Louise Quinn, Diane Caldwell. She seems to like the Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn. Claire O'Riordan slotting in there was obviously a staple in the Zambia game, but Megan Connolly as well, to give that little bit of pace, because as you said, if we get caught, you're relying nearly on your wing backs to bolt back. Come here, that's not to say the girls aren't pacey. They can read the game quite well. But I just can't see beyond Niamh Fahey most definitely being in there. Louise Quinn. It's just a toss-up then for the third. I'm trying to, you've Diane Caldwell, you've Claire O'Riordan, and you've Megan Connolly as well. So I'm stuck between those 3 for the final third, say, defender. Maybe you can elaborate, Macdara. You might have a different opinion.
If I could jump in for Macdara, I have a theory that Megan Connolly's going to play there, I think, to allow Sinead Farrelly to the field. I think that's that holding. I think that's where Sinead Farrelly's end up playing. That's why it's interesting that it's the first time I've really seen Megan Connolly listed as a defender.
I know, and she didn't do too bad in the games that she played there. She can spray a ball as well. Just launching that defense to attack.
I think also, like she mentioned as well today in the media scrum about the tactical change of putting Heather Payne. I know we talked about it on, but that does add place Macdara to the right hand side. And if Katie does play the left, that we're a quicker back five essentially into straight, because more than likely it's going to be a back against the wall job for about 7 minutes of that game. So it's going to be add a bit of pace to the back five if you have Megan, Katie, and you have Heather at the back.
Yeah, I think Heather Payne will play. I don't think Anya Gorman will start there. And yeah, definitely I think it'll be Niamh Fahey and Louise Quinn. And then Claire Reardon is an interesting one because she's come off a really good season, scored in the Scottish Cup final. And Vera talked her up after that Zambia game, and that's why I felt she probably would make the squad. Whether she'll make the team, I don't know. I really like Megan Connolly. I think she gives you other options as well. So I think I'm going to speak for all of us there. I think we're going to have a back five. It'll be Katie on one side, Heather on the other, and I think it'll be Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn, and Megan Connolly. Yeah, I can't argue too much.
The midfield, then I suppose it's like Denise Sullivan starts like that's
all day. Yeah.
And I think like we might talk about Sinead Farrelly now because obviously Vera gave interesting comment when I asked her the question on it. Actually, we'll go to that first. We'll go to a comment on Sinead Farrelly and come back there.
Vera, was it always the plan to have Sinead Farrelly and Marissa Shiva in the squad once they declared?
Sinead Farrelly?
Yeah.
You've seen her quality, yeah?
Yeah.
USA game, first cap into a squad, completely new, being so dominant. And she has done everything herself. And after she got her passport, we got contact. So her heart is she wants to be here. And that was before we qualified. She started a process far before we qualified. We've had many players being dumped on my desk, in my email then, that tried to jump on the bandwagon because there's a World Cup that we qualified for. We did not go into that. We only went for the players who were there and who fully, with their full heart, done all the job that they had to do over the last 2 years, because it's a 2-year process. And Sinead only got in contact after she got her passport. Marissa was before we qualified already, that was process was going on, and the only thing that we helped her is was the clearance for playing for Ireland.
That's pretty definitive, Macdara, what she said about Sinead Farrelly, that she's definitely, I know she already had her nailed on her squad once she declared, and I think she's nailed on the start as well.
Yeah, she is, like because you were the one who asked the question there about Sinead Farrelly, and she was the one that I have an issue with. That's too strong because she spoke about Vera Pauw spoke today that she had got her that Sinead Farrelly had got her passport in place, and then she contacted to say she was available. I'm really looking forward to the France game anyway, but I'm really looking forward to that game to see Sinead Farrelly play, because Jesus, she was talked up from that game, her performance in the USA, and I know it was a late night game. I thought she played well, but it was like, was she that good? But I think what it is about it, by playing her, it frees up probably Denise Sullivan to get probably further forward and just being able to hold on to the ball, which is really critical. I think that's what Vera Pauw really liked. These players that you give them the ball and you just don't give it away. They'll always turn the right way. They'll always find the right pass. And they're like, it's one of those players who probably is really good at scanning, and that seems to be what Sinead Farrelly brings. So I think Ruth Littlejohn then provides that probably bite then, and that cover maybe in front of the back three that you probably need as well. So I don't, we're Lucy Quinn, like Rebecca, you talked there about Izzy Atkinson being a late bolter. She's been a very late one, but Lucy Quinn's probably another one who wasn't named for the previous camp, and then made herself available, came in and trained. It was an example that Vera spoke about when the World Cup trophy was down in Ringsend, and she talked about the squad at the time and about giving players opportunities, and she really talked up Lucy Quinn. This was someone who hadn't made the initial cut, came into training and then really listened to what she was being asked to do. So it wasn't that like she trained really well, that kind of, put the effort in, but actually was taking in the instructions that Tom and Vera were giving her. So, but I think she's probably an impact player, that probably someone that won't start, and probably somebody that will come in. Ciara Grant was another player that was on the periphery, and there's probably one was maybe a little bit of a surprise as well. And she had spoken to the Sunday newspaper, so people kind of talked about her story, which is really interesting on a personal point of view in terms of her medical background and what she did during COVID, and is playing at I'm a bit unsure, I'll be honest. I don't see the Scottish football. She's with Hearts. I do would watch the WSL because it's on Sky. So I wouldn't be as familiar. I don't know, Rebecca, what you can maybe say about her.
Yeah, like obviously I'd known Ciara and played with her. Good footballer, she's tidy like that. She'll work all day. I've actually not seen much of her in her time in Scotland with Hearts. I have heard she's excelled over there within the team. Obviously she's been offered a new contract as well. I don't know what way you can go, or look at that, because I'm not too sure in terms of the level. You're kind of looking at your Glasgow Cities, Celtic, all those kind of, Hibs in terms of the top team, say in Scotland. Look, Ciara's worked hard. She's put herself out there. I know that last year to get involved and to get a chance off Vera. So credit to her for getting to where she's got to. Again with Lucy Quinn, as you mentioned, she's one of them. Obviously, seems to got the head down. For me, I've in the earlier games that I seen Lucy when she came in, I was quite impressed. That she was quite direct and attacking, and get stuck in. And the last little while, she seems to have kind of just gone back in my estimation. Obviously, given the game there the other night, you can't really tell off that. But obviously, Vera's seen something different in training and over the last 2 weeks or whatever it may be. But another player I think might, you mentioned Ruesha Littlejohn. I know she's struggled with injury over the course of the year or so. Probably at that kind of more experienced end of the squad as well. But Lily Agg, Lily Agg is there or thereabouts. She's done well in the campaign, in the game she's played. Got some crucial goals. Has a good engine on her as well. So it'll be interesting there to see. Obviously, I do think Sinead Farrelly is going to be that six. In midfield with Denise. Denise starts on any team nearly at this stage. But yeah, it'll be a toss up then, I think, between Lily and maybe Ruesha in there for the partner with the partnership with Denise. So it's going to be quite interesting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because Vera was asked, obviously, by myself with Sinead Farrelly, and she kind of elaborate that there, since they qualified for the World Cup, as we've heard, that there was plenty of players that were trying to jump on the bandwagon, as she called it, to play. And I suppose, look, from a managerial point of view, it's probably tempting. If you have a player we'll probably go into the forward department in a sec, but we're not exactly prolific in what to go. We don't know the players, obviously, we're idle speculating, of course. But if a player did scoring 15, 20 goals somewhere and suddenly makes that available, if you're the manager, that could be a tough decision to ignore. So credit where credit's due, that she didn't, open, the Emerald Isle and let all the players play. It could be a temptation. Could be a temptation if you are a manager to do that. The forward department, then, looking at it there, she talked up Kyra Cruz, and she's definitely going to start. It's a matter of who partners are. The other strike partners, Amber Barrett, Marissa Shiva, and Abby Larkin. She spoke about Amber Barrett Macdara in terms of her performance. The camp was really important for her. The Zambia game in particular got her the ticker on the plane. She spoke that she can't live off one moment, and Amber understood that. And the fact that she got 2 goals in the game, penalty, and a good goal as well to win it. It goes to A, that the camp was very important for players like her, and B, she might just have nailed down the number 9 spot for the tournament. Yeah,
I think Kyra Creagh will start. I think that's another one where the numbers in the amount of running, the selfless running that she's done for Ireland up front, trying to put pressure on defences. I think she starts. I think Abby Larkin probably won't. Probably another player you're looking for an impact player that can maybe come off the bench. But I don't know. I think Marissa Shiva is probably. I just get the impression that she'll play because she's one of those players who's come in and Vera's accepted into the squad, if we can say that. The players that were looking to jump on the bandwagon. Amber Barrett has the goal that got us to the World Cup, and then the difficulties she kind of had since then. It's a brilliant story. The fact she hadn't scored a goal since then, and then kind of her knowing, right, I'm coming on at halftime against Zambia and I need to do something, and Ireland get an early penalty and she's like straight over to get the football.
She needed it, I think. Just get it out there.
And Megan Connolly was like, right, I'm not battling Amber to get the ball back. I thought that actually that was something that was interesting that Vera Pauw said today about giving Amber Barrett like a program to keep her fit. So she was going off to do other stuff outside what she was doing with her club in Germany to make, and she just went off and did it. And I think that probably helped. But yeah, I think she'll probably be someone who's going to be on the bench, but that'd be my viewpoint.
If she's on the bench, then who will be the starter player beside Creagh then, Rebecca? That's the question.
It has to be Shiva. I think she kind of seemed to fall into favour in the camps in the USA. I didn't actually see much or any of her. But for me, for her to bring somebody in, that's not been there as a regular, let's just say, who kind of came in off the granny rule, as they call them. I don't know what it's called these days, who it goes by. But like to bring somebody in and have faith in them to play against the world champions or ex-world champions, whatever you want to call them. And then to bring them in this squad, I think she's going to give her that starting role up top with Carusa. The likes of Amber Amber can get you goals. She's another one that'd be pretty similar to Leanne Kiernan. I know Amber, on a personal level has put a lot of work in over the last few years. She's not found it easy to maybe be at that level of fitness that is expected for you at the international level. Has had to work harder than a lot of other people to get herself in the right condition, and look, she's done that. I don't think there's anyone more Irish than Amber Barrett, to be honest. So she'll, even if the legs may go, she'll fight and play on with her heart. But I think she's going to be one of those players that maybe 15, 20 minutes, are left in a game to bring on maybe as fresh legs and look to poach a goal. But for me, it's Carusa and Shiva up top, yeah.
So going through the whole squad then, I've jotted down everyone's opinions, and it's just the 11 we think will start against Australia then. Obviously, Brosnan starts in goal. That's a given.
Yeah.
By Quinn Connolly, is that the back three you might have a guess with?
Yeah.
Gonna go for that, yeah.
Wing backs, Payne and McCabe.
Yeah.
Midfield, Ag, Farrelly and O'Sullivan. Is that possibly the shout?
I think so. I don't know, you might be beyond of a difference.
I was saying Little John, but you're right about Lily Ag, and her goal was really crucial towards the end of the campaign as well. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Well, no, I'm going to disagree. We can't agree on everything.
We'll have to see the first game now. This should be good. To drop you a text.
Well, in fact, she did say the team that starts against France is going to be, to use her word exactly, she said it's going to be her best squad. So that just says to me, if you're not in the 11 against France, you're not starting against Australia. So whatever, that's my interpretation. Now, again, could get lost in English translation, of course, but that's what I interpret from that. And then I had Barrett down, but I'm bound down the two of you, 2-1, Carusa and Shiva up front.
Don't listen to us. Be your own man. Be your own man. No fear of failure, as Vera Pauw would say.
Yeah, it's a collective. 2-1 vote. So that's Shiva and Carusa. Like, I suppose the one thing I suppose Shiva will give you in the game, remember, she is quick. That gives you a bit of pace. And on terms of, he's a former track and field runner, so it does help that we're playing in Sydney. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere. Home teams, first game. We are under the cosh. It's probably a game where you need maybe Macdara, Toshka and Keegan up front, someone to hold the ball up like Carusa, and then Shiva playing off. Like, that's probably going to be the system in terms of how we're going to play. It's going to be 5-3, basically 5-3-2.
Yeah. I was 5-3-2 is what I'd written down here. The thing about that Australia game is it was confirmed during the week because there were some additional tickets went on sale. They were selling some like restricted view tickets. Basically, when they must be setting up the stadiums already. When they put the cameras in, all the additional cameras in, you kind of can lose some seats. Or they realize actually we can sell some seats, but it's slightly restricted. You're kind of looking through the back of the camera person's head and you can't quite see the corner flag. So the game is sold out, like 82,500. I was talking to a friend of mine who he lives in Melbourne, and I was saying, someone who has come back from Australia to go to the Euros to watch Ireland. I was like, I presume you're going to the game. And he said, I can't get a ticket. Like, it's
madness. Yeah.
And Luke, do you have a ticket for that one?
No, I can't get one.
Yeah,
all my family over there, all the connections, can't get them.
Serious, geez.
Yeah, and so like
a public cry for help.
Yeah, get in touch with Luke on Twitter. But it is, we're not going to have a Giant Stadium 1994 moment. There will be definitely loads of Irish jerseys there, but it's going to be difficult for them. They're like, it's 82,500 like playing in front of. Like, I think it's safe to say none of them would have played in front of that big crowd. I remember Chloe Mustaki talking after the game in Gothenburg, talked to her in the stadium afterwards, and there was, I think there was maybe 15,000 at the game, and she talked about not at the start of the game not looking up into the stadium. She didn't want to kind of see what the crowd was.
Yeah,
can you imagine what Sydney's going to be like, and that's why amazing. I think you need, it will be amazing. I think that's why you need those big players. Like, you'd like to think that the right up the middle, Niamh Fahey, Louise Quinn, obviously Katie McCabe's played in some I think that's been really useful that Denise O'Sullivan would have played in front of some really big crowds. I think that's why the USA games were really crucial. That Vera Pauw wanted those games to play against such a high level team, but also that they knew there'd be really big crowds, which they were. Katie McCabe's played in the full Emirates, played in Champions League semi-final, so no fear in her. But it is the thing about that game. It'll be playing the hosts, and it will be mostly yellow clad supporters, gold clad supporters, whatever, hometown supporters that'll be cheering them on. But it'll be brilliant. I don't know, I'm sure hopefully you guys will have seen, hopefully listeners will as well, 2 really good videos out today. I thought the squad announcement the FAI did was absolutely brilliant. The young kids doing her own commentary. We've all done that.
We've all been there, yeah.
Sky did a similar one with a father and a daughter, looking forward to it. Rebecca, can I maybe ask you, because I think we're going to chat afterwards. I was at something in Leinster House during the week about investment in Irish football, and Lisa Fallon. Yeah. Lisa Fallon was talking about it, and she talked about Euro 88 and Italia 90 being an inspiration for her as a young kid, but not. She didn't really see a path for her in football. Yeah. Still went for a career in football through kind of media, through playing, through because actually I was slagging her off that we put some pictures up. She played against she was coaching and also was a registered player with Shamrock Rovers when they were in the WNL the last time, playing against Peamount with Louise Quinn. So we were talking about 2013 in that tour, but. And now she's with FIFA. She'll be traveling out to the World Cup as part of the FIFA technical group, working under Arsene Wenger. So she had this ambition to play and to work in football without ever seeing where you could get to. You know what I mean? Whereas now young kids have that ambition. What were you like as a kid? Did you dream of playing in an FA Cup final and going, well, Jesus, I can't play in an FA Cup final because they only have them for men and that's all you could see? Like, what was your experience as a young kid?
Yeah, I suppose like the majority of, I'm sure, of girls of my age you speak to, our role models were the Stephen Gerrards and the Michael Owens. Well, for me anyway, I was a Liverpool fan, but that's all I could see, as I got that bit older, been involved in, say, under 14s, under 16 age groups. You had the girls in the senior team at your club, maybe, that you kind of look to say, yeah, great. But, our aspirations were playing the Sundrive Bowl of a Sunday, in a cup final. There was nothing amazing, until I got that bit older. I know my dad played League of Ireland, so that was kind of ingrained in me from a young age, travelling all over the country to to go to games on the bus or whatever with him. But as far as myself, you know, there was nothing to kind of say, right, this is what you're gonna do. I suppose I was kind of part of the Raheny squad that kind of played the FAI Cup final in the new Aviva at the time, the first time we did that, and thankfully won. And you know, that was a huge step in the Women's National League at that stage, you know, back in 2012, 2013 to get that live on RTE2. And you know, that was the kind of kickstart for putting women's football in Ireland on the map, because at that stage, you know, the Ireland women's games weren't even near TV. So that was kind of like the start of it, I suppose. You know, I kind of would have seen like my first roommate at the Irish teams back in the day was Yvonne Tracy, and she was obviously at Arsenal at the time with Emma Byrne and older Ciara Grant, and like they were kind of like the three that you just looked at. Like I was 16, 17 getting involved in these squads and going to train and obviously camps with them, and you're looking going, wow, they are superstars, because you know they're winning leagues and they're in Champions Leagues and FA Cups, and you know that was kind of the start. And it took that long for me to maybe see a pathway as such, you know. And you've got girls now that are 4 and 5 and 6 and they're seeing this on the telly and they're going to Tallaght Stadium to games. And you know, it was only when I was playing that, you know, at those levels that I was able to see that there might be something here that we can kind of push forward with. And it's only then, like in the last 4 or 5 years since I've maybe stalled on my National League career, that, you know, the last 2 years only I've kind of got these, you know, openings with RTE, 2FM, and doing kind of media stuff and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that's all just off the back of this Irish team. I feel, you know, they've kind of gave us players that aren't playing anymore that kind of platform now. You know, people want to hear what you've experienced in years gone by. You know, where the Irish team, obviously in 2017 with that whole ordeal of the equality kind of, you know, that was another kind of groundbreaking thing to happen for women's football in this country. And, you know, the people that have gone before us have a lot, you know, we have a lot to be thankful for, that, you know, the teams of the 80s and 90s that nobody even knew women played football in this country. You know, they're the people that you kind of look and bow down to, because they got no thanks at all. And yeah, look, that's kind of my story. And you know, I'm very grateful now. I look at these girls that, you know, I would have played against and were younger than me, and I'm looking at them going, wow, they're idols. You know, obviously even Katie, younger than me, but I'm like, wow, so proud, you know. But it's fantastic. And look, it's great to see for young boys and girls to have that, you know, anyone can do it. And, you know, there is a huge pathway there now.
Yeah, and I suppose even like it's really interesting to hear that, because like I'm 27 in August, and growing up in the noughties, I couldn't name an Irish player. I genuinely, I wouldn't be able to name a female Irish player. That's just the truth of it. And like it wasn't really till the 2015 World Cup when the BBC were showing games late on the air and the USA are playing. I started learning a couple of names, Alex Moore and Cardi Lloyd. Yeah. And like again, media coverage here was so poor. I couldn't name a single Irish player. And it's funny, like since COVID, it's ironic with COVID actually was for me was when I started actually seeing the players and started seeing the games and LOI TV, watch LOI. There was more media coverage. Sky Sports obviously getting involved with the WSL, profiling it. And since then, like it's an incredible rise. Like I remember watching the Ukraine game in 2020 and came 1-0. And I was as gutted at watching that game as I was Henri handed the ball. Like that's how gut-wrenching I was watching the match. And you know, like, it was the exact same, but like 5-6 years before that, I would have never known. I would have never known
exactly.
A playoff game years ago.
But that's the thing. Like my favorite women's players, let's just say, were Carly Lloyd and Farrah Williams. Like they were my and that was me at an older age. You know, the kind of way I never had someone within the Irish setup to go, oh, I love them the way they play. Obviously, domestically, yeah, you can see these players, and it's probably, you know, people that have gone before me now, the likes of Ciara Grant and stuff. You know, we're great footballers. They're amazing, but to me, they just didn't have that kind of wow factor, because maybe we just didn't see them on TV, or, you know, it wasn't put out there the way the USA done it. You know, Carly Lloyd back when, you know, the Olympics, and I went to college in the States then, and like, what year was that? Geez, it's a long time ago now. 2011 round then, and, you know, she scored that amazing goal to win the Olympics, and I was like, wow, she was like the one player I just absolutely idolised. And obviously then later, like Farrah Williams. You know, but as you said, look, it's the last few years, and to see the likes of yourself, say, or like say boys I would have hung around with, you know, now are bringing their kids to the women's games. You know, back then they would have gave me death for playing football, you know. But it's amazing to see, you know, men say, and even at domestic level here, to see the men's fans, you know, they're now just club fans. You know, especially at the likes of Shelbourne now, you know, you have all the fans coming to the women's games on Saturdays, you know, and that's testament to all the volunteers throughout the years, and, you know, our women's national league, and obviously now through to the Irish team. So yeah.
Yeah, like, I suppose Macdara ended up, it is a positive story. It's actually good to end in a positive Irish football story, really, isn't it? Usually there's always a negative connotation to it. This is actually positive. We'll get on to the negative later on now with budgets, and that's for the second part of the show. But this part of the show is a positive.
Oh, it'll be brilliant. I think you mentioned, Rebecca, even it's inspiration to boys and girls. I think that's really important as well. Like, it's obviously to girls as well. I see it with my niece, who, you know, I've been bringing to a few of the Ireland games and a few of the League of Ireland women's games this season as well. And I think back to my sister growing up, there was just like, there wasn't the opportunity for her to play football, and now my niece she plays with Granada, and like my sister was saying to me when we were going to a game earlier on the season, and so my niece was looking up all the players, so she knew their names, and she'd been at one of the camps, and some of the Shamrock Rovers under 19 players last year had coached them, and now they're part of the senior team. So she was like, oh, these were the four that were playing, and like being able to look up to these. But even
it's amazing. Yeah,
and even for old fellas like me, that like that there's a bloody World Cup that Ireland are in it to look forward to. We've had so long that it hasn't, and that there was an interesting comment I picked up about, you know, the last World Cup and Saipan and whatever, but seemingly the kit went out over a month ago to Australia, so it's already
there, not
there,
June.
You know? Exactly, yeah.
That's all we need.
But the fact that the games are on, they're all at reasonable times for us to watch them, and it'll be brilliant. It'll be wall to wall, just to see the amount of media that are going out, just chatting to a few different people that are doing, and the coverage it'll be great. It'll be wall to wall, and, you know, hopefully we can build on it in relation to kind of infrastructure, but also with the team, so that, you know, these people, that kids that are looking up watching these games in this tournament, they're the ones that will be hopefully playing for Ireland in tournaments to come.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't wait for the World Cup, can't wait to fly over, can't wait to watch the game. It's going to be brilliant. Like, they actually remind me to end on a note there. I forgot to ask Vera Pauw, you know, about would there be a Saipan moment. I knew I forgot some question to ask her.
Don't.
Are herself and Kate at loggerheads for the tournament?
No, it's more Denise O'Sullivan. It's Cork folk that, you know.
Watch out for those girls.
Us Dubs would never say anything.
No, we make laugh at tournament and think about it. Rebecca, we'll let you go because the negative stuff's coming out, so let you go on the pause now. Thanks for the podcast, and we'll chat.
No problem, lads. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
And there's kind of a lot of grumbling about maybe we don't have enough Premier League players, but in terms of the Championship, but
what's the point in grumbling about it?
But the step
I can't hold about it, can I? If they're not playing the play, what's the point of me grumbling?
But the step up to international football in the Championship is a kind of it's an easily managed.
Well, I tell you back there when we played in 2002, what's the point of me grumbling? We had lads who were all at the bottom of the Premier League, real scrapping away, Kince and Matty Holland, and I had Gary Breen, who hadn't even got a club. What's the point of me grumbling? So I don't subscribe to that, you know. You just, whatever it is, whatever I've got, I'll get them together and make the best of them and try and make sure we qualify. Grumbling is not one of the things I do.
You can subscribe to each new episode of the ExtraTime.ie Sportscast on iTunes. Please give a rating or add a comment there to let us know your views.
Welcome back to the second half. Macdara is still alongside me. That was a good chat with Rebecca.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, it was good to get her insight on the squad and actually get some reassurance that some of my ideas weren't wacky. And I loved hearing her talk about playing with the young Katie McCabe and that. I think that was a good insight to get from Rebecca.
I'm going for a non-alcoholic beverage.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just to clarify, extra time is not encouraged in great drinking. Just putting that in. Hey, let's move on from women's football to a couple more things for you to finish up the episode and get on to the fixtures. Macdara, you did an article there. There's a bit of news coming out of Parliament buildings. A lot of room at the moment due to the financial aspect in football. FAI loves money off the government. So what's happening?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was down in Leinster House during the week. There was kind of a call out for well, I went to the media, but it was basically an information session for TDs and senators ahead of a private members' motion in the Dáil about the investment in football infrastructure. So it's really coming on the back of the FAI's plan that they produced in the last couple of weeks, where they're looking for investment into the game. That what is it? It's 900. It's quite a large amount of investment they're looking for.
863, isn't it?
Is that what it is? Million, yeah.
860, yeah, not euro. Sorry, 863 million they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. 863 over a 15-year period. So it's a Labour Party motion, and I suppose I'll declare my interest. That is the party that is my background. So, but it is. Éanna Reardon was who organised it, and it was very much for the Labour Party are looking for cross-party support, both from government and opposition, but I suppose particularly government. And that was interesting because it was he got a panel to come in to talk to the members of the Oireachtas. So Lisa Fallon, which I mentioned there, came in and spoke about her experience and about the facilities that she's seeing. That there's a waiting list for players to get onto teams where she's living, and that's due to lack of facilities. And that's only the demand is only going to go up, hopefully, and it will be realistically, because more women will want to play football on the back of this World Cup, and more girls want to do that. And she also spoke about the particular difficulty that women have with lack of facilities. So talked about saying that every woman knows how to change her top by putting on another top over because they don't have the right facilities. Talked about going to the toilet in parks where the teammates would form a ring around because there's no toilets to do, and that's just not good enough. I think back to my time at playing very low level Leinster Senior League. We would always have had a few players from overseas that would come to play for us from various places, but I always remember the embarrassment of having to explain to lads that, you'd go to Corky Park or Timon or certain places where there wouldn't be dressing rooms, and they'd be like, what? Couldn't understand it. And yeah, exactly. But and that, there's, if you put barriers in place, particularly it's easier for women to drift out of the game with those barriers in place. And it's really important for women to stay in the game, be it if they want to have a career. And Éanna Reardon mentions there's 20 professional women's players playing in the League of Ireland this year on the back of the contracts coming in. But even if as a hobby, really important as well. There was Stephen McGuinness was there from the General Secretary of PFAI. Instantly, he talked about the importance of investment in infrastructure, but investment in academies and investment in coaching. That was the point that he was making. Brendan Clark, who's the chair of the PFAI, he talked about that he's a goalkeeper in the first division, and that his team are changing in hotels before some away games in the first division because the facilities aren't big enough for the squad. And that's a number of speakers talked about the League of Ireland stadiums haven't changed since the 1990s. And actually, Martin Connolly, who's CEO of Dundalk, he talked about the floodlights in Oriel Park erected in 1967. Squads now are 7 substitutes. So, whereas before, so it's that type of thing. Pico Lopez talked about he had a dream of playing professional football, playing full-time professional football. And, he thought that had passed him by. And he got the opportunity. Shamrock Rovers gave him the opportunity to have a 52-week contract ahead of which was 39-week earlier on in his career and 42-week. And then you'd either get another job or you'd sign on. And that gave him a springboard, Rover's success in Europe gave him the opportunity to play for international football with Cape Verde, which so that was the point he made. And Conor Hoey, who's director at Drogheda, he was also on the panel, and he talked about the FAI plan, talked about it being a brilliant plan, and how that without benefactors or a membership, and he talked about the Bohemians membership, that football clubs really aren't sustainable without proper facilities. So that was it, and then there was quite a good discussion, and because there wasn't like cameras there or whatever, like I felt there was really good dialogue with there was TDs from Fianna Fáil, from Fine Gael, like Chris Andrews talked about the really looking for a sports facility audit. Bit of discussion from him, Brendan Howland as well, about how Jed Nash as well, about how the sports capital grants really, the view was from those TDs from various parties that it's weighted against working class people, and that's weighted against football clubs. If you're to get a sports capital grant, you need to kind of own your own ground, and traditionally GA clubs and rugby clubs have had that. And it's also about matching funds, and particularly rugby clubs with the association with certain schools, particularly in Leinster. This is my point now I'm making. It's probably a bit easier to generate funding, which then you can get matching funds. So, a lot of the speakers talked about the link up with the local authority, and that's probably the benefit of getting politicians involved. That the local authority is really crucial to that. That there's a spotlight on that. So, like Ivana Bacik, she talked about, now is the time to put a political focus on football's funding and facilities. Now is exactly the right time. With the FAI's plan, which is an ambitious plan, but was described as being robust. But yeah, there was somebody there from the FAI, and there was a number of kind of political staff as well. So it was really interesting. Like it was an hour long. It was from because there was another kind of group coming in, and certain senators kind of dropped in and out. There was because there was votes happening. There was the division bell was ringing at certain stages, and they were going off to discuss the special criminal court afterwards. So, but what they were trying to do was get to get the support in. This is the first time seemingly that there's going to be like a debate on football in Ireland. There's been plenty of saying, I think maybe questions to the minister at different stages about different things, or questions about, but this is going to be about football, and for the view is other codes have done very well, and that's great. Now is the time for the FAI to step up. From the likes of Stephen McGuinness, and he spoke. He spoke about the previous regime at the FAI and how the governance is the PFAI had been at loggerheads at different stages, and that the relationship is as good as it has ever been. Still, discussions ongoing, but that the governance put in place, that it's a different FAI. So that motion is happening on the 12th of July, and it probably moves the conversation on. There's a bit of political debate about the funding model, and that got quite party political. In my view, the government TDs kind of dug their heels in a little bit. And I think what's worth saying is that FAI report was that wasn't published publicly. Daniel MacDonald got his hands on it, a few others have as well, but I think people know you kind of do these reports that can leak out. People might have maybe read one of the Labour Party in the last week as well. But this kind of moves this on the back of the FAI plan. Investment needs to be made. Like football is the biggest participatory sport in Ireland. Bit of discussion about cross sporting use of facilities as well. And Martin Connolly talked a little bit about about the plastic pitch, and he was saying, I think he was saying this, they've 7 teams that train on that. So the first team, and then there's 6 other teams that are training that in the evening between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And if they take that pitch out and put in a grass pitch, they're not going to be able to do that. But both him and Conor Hoey talked about the cost of renting the facilities, and Conor Hoey talked about Dermot Desmond's investment in Shamrock Rovers, and he talked about that investment going into the academy, because that's what that investment was, which was a one-off investment into Roadstone. So I came away quite positive about it. I'll be fascinated to watch the debate and see what the government talked about, because Micheál Martin, when he was Taoiseach, he was on Off the Ball, and he talked about, this was probably maybe 12 months ago, I think, he talked about now time is right for investment into football in Ireland, and the government need to back that up. We're awash with money, with huge budget surplus, and there's really, really important things that need to be done, but football, I think, is deserving of a slice, and you put checks and balances in for this investment to be made. But I heard Graham Gartland was talking about, he was on the RT podcast, and he was talking about a team that he brought over to play Ajax, and about the investment in the game and players coming through, and he talked about the reward that you get for that financial investment is returned through health savings, through mental health, and I thought Lisa Fallon's point about getting people to stay in football, be it as a career or as a hobby, you get that. Not everyone will be able to not everyone will be able to progress from the academy structure into playing in the League of Ireland, be it in the men's or the women's, but you want them to stay in the game. You want them to go back to be the coaches, to be, volunteerism was talked about yesterday as being the lifeblood as football. It's the lifeblood of all sports, and GA make a big point of that, and rightly so. But at every club right around the league, huge amounts of volunteers, but actually trying to professionalize the game and having the finances where you can put in, your full-time CEO, your full-time academy director, dare I say it, full-time media officer, and various clubs have these. But where Ireland ranks in relation to other countries with full-time coaching directors is really low, and that kind of comes back to facilities. So I'm not expecting kind of blank check suddenly to be written by the government in the next time, but this for the Labour Party, the number of seats that they have is very low. I think the Sinn Féin, where they're able to do private members' bills, I think, every week in terms of numbers. Labour Party, I think, get to do one every maybe 6 weeks. So they've decided that this is one we're putting in. And I think I was heartened to see the debate that the party politics was put aside, and also, although there was funny comments about the footballing rivalries, but you had TDs there who were vocal supporters of. I put it in alphabetical order, and I'll be honest, I didn't know all the senators that were there, but there was politicians there who support Bohemians, Dundalk, Macdara United, Kerry, Shelbourne, Sligo Rovers, and Shamrock Rovers, and they were the only ones that I knew. And there was probably, I'd say maybe.
That was cross party. That wasn't a Labour.
Yeah, that was cross party. Yeah, that was cross party. Yeah, and so there was probably about maybe 30, if I hazard a guess, maybe 30 members of the Oireachtas or political staffers who were there, and a good discussion, which only ended because we were getting kicked out, because I don't know what else was coming into the kind of the debating. And it's I think they call it the AV room, which is just off to the side. So it was interesting just to see that kind of level of enthusiasm, and say both political rivals and footballing rivals kind of coming together. And I think the panel getting the views of people who were really invested in the game was really useful, and it was a good cross section, of it, and the contributors that were also there that were able to contribute from the tiered seating, if I can, whatever that was,
Yeah. Look, there's a lot to unpack in that. Just a couple of points.
Yeah.
nearly like Stephen Kenny, Slilliquay against Gibraltar.
Yeah.
A couple of things I just jotted down, like in terms of what your point. The first main point was women's football and Lisa Farrelly sharing her experience, and like that's something that's a disgrace. That's it. I was going to jump in, but I was like, I'll let you off. Like 2023, that's happening. It's not good enough, really, and like you're talking about like female participation drop into sport. I'd argue and say that they're probably going to go to other sports like the GA, and you mentioned that in terms of their facilities are like, kind of jumps to the other point that the GA clubs and the rugby clubs probably own their facilities while football clubs are renting. And Daniel Lambert, who we've had on the podcast the last season, and that's something he spoke about before and off the ball on other platforms about there's too many clubs, in particular in Dublin, and they have nothing. Like the quote, they don't pot the pissing. And
not like football clubs, not League of Ireland clubs. Yeah.
Sorry, grassroots. So grassroots, but like this, like I've played for a team in Kildare, I played for a team in Meath, and I've travelled obviously nearly north and south of Dublin, all over the county playing football and coaching. And like where we are in Cork, we're very blessed to have an adequate facility. It's not perfect, it's adequate. We have dressing rooms. There's no shower facility, but we do have bathrooms. We've somewhere for people to change. And like, that's adequate. But I wouldn't say it's excellent. But compared, it's amazing when teams come from Dublin to play in the Leinster League who don't have much, and they'll say to us, "Geez, your facility's fantastic." When I would argue, you see J Club 2 minutes down the road, they have 4 pitches, a bar, they have a gym inside, they have everything. Now that's not me on the go to GA. That's just me pointing out the difference between football and Gaelic facilities in Ireland, and that's. Yeah. Our facility is deemed a good facility by a lot of people who don't have anything. And this comes back to the point you mentioned there about playing in Corky Park, Tymon Park, St. Anne's Park, whatever park you're in, and you might have 7 clubs in a 3-kilometre radius that have nothing, and there's renting €500 off a council. And is there any need for all these football clubs? Like, can these clubs not come together to amalgamate, have one big club to have one big facility? Like these.
I think that's a real challenge, but I think people probably can think of like getting changed just out of a shipping container, and it's got the pitch liner, and you walk out and there's lime all over your boots. Lisa Farrelly also made the point that she loved, like she's coached at a high level at the men's game as well, but she talked about the having to to go to the toilet in the changing rooms, having to walk past the urinals, which isn't ideal. So she talked about the delight of getting to the cup final when she was part of John Caulfield's coaching team at Cork City, the men's FAI Cup final, because the Aviva Stadium is the only stadium where there's kind of a separate toilet and shower facilities in the changing room for women. And you're looking at you'd like to think that there will be more, like Lisa Farrelly is like I think it's fair to say, I think she was the first female coach in the men's game at that level, but should not be the last. And the fact that that she has to go through that, or others coming her way. So that was kind of some of the talk on the facilities, and it comes down to money, but the FAI are in a much better position now to put their case forward, which they've done in this plan, and say it's ambitious. But if you don't look for it, and if you're not ambitious, you won't get it.
Yeah, and like they have to strike with the iron's hot too. Like the World Cup here is happening, and there's going to be an absolute boom of players, especially in female participation in this country, the next 2 to 3, 4 years.
Yeah,
and like they're going to have to act together. Like clubs, like there's already issues in terms of leagues. What is different story altogether? That clubs are refusing to sell women's sections because they can't facilitate because they don't have the facilities. Like that's a problem. That's I've heard through the grapevine.
Yeah.
And that's a problem throughout the country. So if I'm hearing that in a local area, combine that by 26 counties, what other clubs are saying we can't facilitate having a female team because we've only one pitch that facilitates maybe 10 teams, including the senior team, on a Saturday morning, and the pitch can't take any more. We can't afford the rental costs of going over to say an Astro Park and using the lights. And again, that's another issue I'd have all football should be Canada football. You can save so much more money playing football in the summer. Look, we're recording here. It's now gone quarter 11. There's still a bit of brightness outside in June. You know, like these are the things people don't think about when we heard I was at Leinster meeting last year and they were talking about it has to be traditional. We have to stay with the Winter League. But why? Like, yeah, there's so many ways we can improve the game here internally and obviously externally getting more income. Look, I get very passionate over the subject because we might, and I'm conscious of the fact it's already long the podcast. So, well, is there any further points on that before we move on to another story?
No.
Okay, I'm going to cut myself off because I'm realising that I'm getting annoyed. Robbie Keane, kind of the big story as well this week. Gone to Maccabi Tel Aviv. From a football point of view, it's an opportunity to manage, but I think you can't disentangle the political side from the football side as much as he was trying to in his press conference. It's not a political decision, it's a football decision, not interested in politics. But is it as easy just to banish to one side, saying I don't care about the political side when, you know yourself, there's a lot of stuff going on in that region?
Yeah, I think it's naive if he didn't think he was going to be asked questions about it. Like, you know, we don't have a sport, like if we're drawn with Israel, Ireland will go and play. You know, we played the under-21 playoff, and you know there were some voices that would call for a boycott. You know, there is demonstrations when I think there were certainly flyers handed out when the under-21 team were playing, when the Israeli under-21 team were playing the playoff in Tallaght Stadium against Ireland. So like there is discussion about, you know, cultural boycott. You see it with fans, you see it with kind of writers as well. Sometimes with panel discussions, you know, but like, do I think he shouldn't have taken the job because it's in Israel? I don't know. That's really difficult. It is a huge opportunity for him. Like they're pretty much the biggest club in Israel. Don't think he'll last very long because they just hire and fire managers. Like he's taken this role. Like he you know, he was there with the FAI. You know, he had a contract and he stayed around, and Stephen Kenny didn't want him, and that's fine. And he stayed till the end of his contract because that's what his contract was. But I didn't think it went down very well with a lot of people. You know, he was working with FIFA. He was part of, you know, some of the kind of as an ex-player in the technical group, and had done various things with I think it was UEFA. He was with, I could be wrong, maybe it's FIFA. Anyway, so he has had that.
He's UEFA delegate.
He was UEFA.
UEFA,
yeah. So he was kind of doing that, but you know, obviously wanted to get into coaching. Like he's been involved at Middlesbrough. He was involved at Ireland, and you know, where did you get your break in the game? Well, Damien Duff came in and took up the role at Shelbourne, and he's probably lasted longer than some of us thought as well, and is doing a good job at Shelbourne. So, but there's definitely people out there who have the opinion, you know, they've really strong opinions about you know, Israel and Palestine and the occupied territories, and you see, you know, we're getting back into politics, but you know, anyone with any inkling on the worldview will kind of see what's happening at the minute in Israel, and it seems to be getting worse. And you know, but if Robbie Keane didn't take that job, would it make any difference? No, but I thought the comment was a bit naive. But I suppose what you expect. I don't know. Like, what's your view on it?
I probably wouldn't have taken the job. I'd have very strong views on the issue, but I probably wouldn't have taken the job now on a morality point of view. But again, it's easy for me to sit here on a podcast on a Wednesday evening talking about this. You know, I'm not given the opportunity of a professional contract management job in a professional league. You know, and that's the key point to make. We can all have our opinions, but I'm not the one offered the contract.
Yeah, and like I know, like I went to Israel and Ireland, played out there, and you know, I had to decide whether I wanted to go or not. And I did go, but it was interesting. I was in Jerusalem then. The way the match turned out, it was actually at Easter, and went into Jerusalem on Good Friday, and and I, you got to kind of see what it was like. You got to see what a police state it is, and I can think back to the absolute inquisition I got in the airport going out to the game, where there was Israeli security officials in Dublin airport, and it was like, when you were checking in, it was like, who you're traveling together. There was 4 of us traveling together, and we were taken away separately to talk about what we were doing. And then the guy they went away and conferred, and then came back and said to me, well, you told me you were an engineer, and he's told me you're an architect. Well, which are you? And that was in Dublin airport before flying out to the Ireland game. And flying home, they couldn't have been more welcoming, because you were leaving the country at that point, and you weren't deemed a security risk. But anyway, but I still went. But I was joking to see whether I see he hasn't appointed a goalkeeping coach yet, but whether Dudu Awat is still available, that goalkeeper who did all the time wasting and essentially kind of cost us qualifying for the tournament, I was thinking, and probably cost Brian Kerr's job, because
didn't he got Andy O'Brien sent off? Rightly, I was 9 years of age.
In the home game, and but Owen Cowser was saying to me, because he had put an article up, so he was saying he's actually punted over there, and then he said he's probably still exaggerates everything and takes up too much time. I
remember that game rightly, 2-0 up, and King got injured actually.
2-0 up,
and Brian Kerr's big mistake putting a midfielder on instead of a centre forward. He said he brought Graham Kavanagh instead of Stephen Elliott, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And to this day, I say he's nightmares, because he takes it out with Stephen Kenny. Anyway, we'll move on. Couple of bits and bobs. Mayo Football Club, quick word on that. Another at the positive.
Yeah, good to see. Also, because they're also talking about and both men's and women's. So again, the pathway, this kind of one club model, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's great. And look, I wrote in the piece when I was talking about during the week that it's only a positive to spread the game in the country more. It's brilliant. We need more of it. Dan McDonald kind of spoke about Alloy Central, and he mentioned the fact of like it's an app or something you can visit where you can light up countries you've been. And if you're doing an Irish context of football clubs in Ireland 5-6 years ago, it was Dublin, probably Derry and Galway. And after that, then you're struggling with Cork and Waterford and the rest of the country and back. So now having Kerry, now having Mayo, hopefully other clubs come into it too, would be great. Shows you Benny obviously signed as well for Luton. That was a big story in the week as well. That's a good news story there. Look, we'll go through the fixtures in the SSC Electricity League, starting with the Premier Division. So this Friday night we have Shells, Derry City, Cork City, Drogheda, Sligo Rovers, Bowes, Pats UCD. I'll be covering that for extra time, and Dundalk Rovers. In the First Division, we have Treat United Bray, Galway United Kerry, Waterford Finn Harps, Athlone Town Cove, Longford Town Wexford. And in the All-Ireland Cup in the women's divisions, we have Treat United Dealer Waves, Crusaders Cork City, Sion Swifts Bowes, Cliftonville Sligo Rovers, Peamount Wexford Youths, Glentoran Shamrock Rovers. Macdara, you're covering that game?
Yeah, I'm travelling up to Belfast on Sunday for that one. It's in the Blanchflower Stadium, so a stadium I haven't been to. So I said I'd spend my Sunday in Belfast, but it could be a dead rubber by then, because actually the groups might have been decided on that, because Peamount and Wexford are playing they're playing on Saturday.
Is that named after Danny Blanchflower by any chance? That's just kind of the top of my head there.
I'm very certain it is. Do you need me now to Google this?
Right. I'll finish the fixtures. You Google that really quick. In the other games now, you have Galway, Shells, Linfield Ladies against Athlone Town. Those games are on Saturday and Sunday, July 1st and 2nd. Do we have our answer with Danny Blanchflower?
They don't have a Wikipedia page. Listen, it has to be.
Well, look, there. That's the question of the week. Can someone figure it out?
Well, fine. Well, I'll ask the question when I'm up there on Sunday.
No, that'll be the first question part of the interview. That's pretty much it, is it?
I think we've talked on for quite some time, but that's what happens when you get us talking about things that we're passionate about. So with the Ireland at the World Cup is brilliant, and love a bit of politics thrown in there as well.
And next week we'll have a bit of audio, hopefully, from the Shell's press conference on Friday morning. Sorry, which we'll be heading to as well.
Yeah, the new owners are over. They're doing a press event in the Aviva Stadium, which I think you are heading along to.
I will be there. The benefits of being a teacher. You're off for 3 months.
And you get to go to the World Cup as well, yeah.
I'm going to the World Cup. That's great. Okay, right. Let's end it there. Macdara, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Luke.
Rebecca, thanks for coming on as well. Thank you for listening, and we'll chat to you all next.